That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, and we're doing a Blu-ray review. That's right. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2018 film called Arizona.
What, do they teach a seminar to you guys? Just had a lot of people? You didn't say that my house would double in its value in 2 years.
Now, you might be wondering, Hot Dog, why are you talking about this movie? I had never heard of this before. This was a gift from my family. After I had got them into Danny McBride stuff. Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, who a lot of you know directed that new Halloween. But, they had a series on HBO. They had Righteous Gemstones, which is their current one, Vice Principals before that, and Eastbound and Down before that. And I think that's all with their Rough House Pictures, which also produced this film. This disc was released by RLJE. But after getting them into all of these Danny McBride and David Gordon Green stuff, they saw this movie at, I think, like a pick and save, or I don't even think it's around anymore, showing my age, Big Lots. And I feel like I've seen this at other dollar stores, so I figured, why not cover a dollar store disc? And especially when it's a movie that kind of surprised me. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was just going to be some goofy comedy. You got Danny McBride on the cover, and he's pointing a gun. I thought he might have been a desperado. As you know, I tend to go into a lot of movies blind, so I went into it and was very surprised what we got here. It's something that's smarter than you'd think. It's something that is I guess it shouldn't be surprising. It's sort of a black comedy, sort of turns into a horror-esque movie, but nothing too horrific, but definitely like according to IMDb, it's saying it's a thriller comedy, and it takes place in 2009. You've got a great cast, a lot of people I love. Danny McBride, who I absolutely love so much. I don't think I wanted to at first, but Eastbound and Down, I really felt like I got him and the character he likes to play, and I loved seeing that character in everything since. Vice Principals being my favorite show. You also got Luke Wilson in here, who I love. Rosemary DeWitt, who I'm not familiar with, but does a great job. Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. David Alan Grier. So a lot of great people here, and it's a small cast that sort of make this thing up. So basically, what is it about? Well, it's taking place in 2009 during the housing crisis, which, watching this again, I was like, damn, this is a genius bit for this film, because Danny McBride's character is upset that he got sold a house by a realtor, played by Seth Rogen. And so he kind of comes to the realty office where Rosemary DeWitt's character is working. She's also a realtor. Mind you, they're in the middle of the desert, right? They're in the middle of the desert. There's these tiny little communities. And Danny McBride bought a house in there. Rosemary DeWitt's character, she's our main character. She's living in a similar community just like that. And Danny McBride's pissed because he's about to go under. Number one, they live out in the middle of nowhere. Economy's bad. He's got this failed business where he puts wine into ice cubes called Weiss, it's called. And he's just sinking. His wife left him, and if he loses the house, he loses the kids. So, in a fit of anger, and this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to know anything, pause this and come back. But he ends up killing Seth Rogen's character, which is great. If you're one of the people that hate Seth Rogen, you're going to be ecstatic, because you might see his name somewhere in here and want to walk away, but you don't have to, because he's out. He's in the movie and he's out, and what little bit he's in there is perfect. He does just fine. So, our lead character, Cassie, played by Rosemary DeWitt, she sees this murder. Danny McBride's character, Sonny, knocks her out, takes her back to his home, and things spiral out of control there, where it goes to he doesn't want to kill her. He basically flips out and starts to kill other people, and it just becomes that there's that thriller angle. But the cool part is they're in this housing area that's in the middle of the desert, where people may or may not live in the houses around. And I say that because you can't really tell which ones are empty and which ones have tenants. So it just feels like they're isolated, even if they're not. It's a really cool idea for any kind of horror movie to be set at, is like an abandoned house, especially in modern times. You know, we've seen so many movies where people stroll into towns that are ghost towns or abandoned towns. I immediately think of House of Wax, where they come into that abandoned town, which is really cool. And this feels like that, but a little bit more updated, you know. And yes, there are still people around, which make for some fun little twists here and there. But for the most part, there's nobody around. And again, they're in the middle of nowhere. These neighborhoods all happen to have similar names too out there. So there's a point where Luke Wilson, his character's trying to find his ex-wife, who is our lead Cassie, and he doesn't remember the full name. And the guy's asking him, oh, does it start with this? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, 5 places start with that. So they're very much stranded, but nah, they just can't do anything. I like that a lot. So that works for me. The humor here works too. It's crazy to see this on a level. Now, this wasn't directed by David Gordon Green. This was directed by Jonathan Watson. Jonathan Watson has worked quite a bit with Rough House Pictures. Again, they're the people who did Danny McBride's previous stuff. He acted in like a second director, producer, director capacity. Also worked on Future Man. He worked on Vice Principals, which is probably my favorite of those shows. It's nice, compact, doesn't overstay its welcome, and the characters are great. If you haven't seen Vice Principals, highly recommend it. So in Arizona, you've got a lot of great tension, a great cast pulling that tension, and there's certain things you can do in horror to make the audience guess and wonder what's going to happen next when you start to take things off the table. When certain characters die that you think are immune from death, that's when you go, holy shit, I don't know what can happen next in this movie. And this movie brings that, and I like that a lot, especially when you see Danny McBride's character sort of start somewhat of a normal dude and just spiral out of control, hoping he's going to be able to get out of this mess. And he stops being someone that you sympathize for fairly early on and becomes a madman. I like seeing him in this role. But again, this isn't David Gordon Green directing. And I was kind of wondering if it'd be easy to see kind of parallels with Halloween, but no, this is definitely a very different movie. I mean, different director, sure, but same production company, some of the same people behind the camera. So it ends up being a little bit different tonally, and in terms of it being its own thing, it's great. Just a solid black comedy where the scares are fairly genuine, and so are the surprises, as are the comedic tones as well. They all work. I was surprised I had never heard of this. I did read it did get a theatrical release. Never heard of it until I think I did see this at a dollar store. But if you do see this at a dollar store, much like I or my family may have, worth a blind buy, I think. Especially for $1, couple bucks, $5 tops. Not a lot on the special features. Only a making of little documentary there. And a photo gallery. The documentary or making of is nothing extensive, and the sound is really out of whack. Somebody just redlined their audio. The audio of that dialogue is cranked up way too high, and nothing really too necessary to get out of that besides the usual, like, oh, this is a fun movie. We got the script, and the script is good. I like this movie. So, worth a watch, though. Very, very surprising. Maybe one of the only Danny McBride movies I don't like is Your Highness, Her Highness, whatever that was, where they're medieval knights. But if somebody told me to rewatch it, I would. I would believe you. But anyway, that's it. Check out the film Arizona.
Okay, I gotta get out of here.
The release itself is nothing too big there, nothing to write home about, but I dug this. I dug this more than I thought. And of course, in the comments, let me know if you've seen it. Let me know if you remember this even in a theater, because I definitely don't. But anyways, I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that's just too long for Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.